What's up, guys? This is episode 179 of the Leadway Wealth Bidders podcast. And today, this show is going to be a presentation that I did for a group of over 200 plus investors all about travel hacking. I love talking about it. And I was super excited when Jeff Bodenmuller asked me to be able to do a presentation on it for the other investors in this group. And like I said, over 200 plus investors are in this group that were able to ask questions, and I was able to give a presentation breaking down travel hacking because it's something I'm super passionate about and something I did so much learning about when I was just getting started in real estate because I had no money to be able to invest and be able to fix up this property. And if you know me, I love quotes. Limitations spark innovation. And that's exactly how this got started for me because it was based out of fear. It was the fear of credit cards, the fear of credit, the Dave Ramsey mindset. And I was able to educate myself through podcasts. And then I was able to get into this thing. I was able to book a huge trip to Hawaii, all 8 days and all on $66 that I'm going to break down in the presentation. And it really got me hooked. And now that we're real estate investors and we have a higher spend, we're using these cards and racking up tons of points for free travel or nearly free travel, as I'll break down in the episode. So just sit back, listen, and I'll be doing this presentation. If you want to follow me on Instagram, follow Instagram and TikTok at chris.reichenbach. That's chris.reichenbach. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple, or any podcast platform, you can go on YouTube and you can see the slides that I'm breaking down. So go check that out on our YouTube channel at the Leadway Wealth Builders podcast. So let's hop into the presentation. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being able to tune into this presentation. Super excited to be able to give a presentation on something that I'm super passionate about, which is travel hacking. So travel hacking is just kind of like that catchy term that you're able to, just sell things. So travel hacking, I'm super passionate about that side of it, but it's really about how to maximize your points and miles because so many of us have credit cards and we don't really use them to the full extent that they're able to be used. So people get points, they might have booked a flight, they might have booked a hotel on them, but the issue is they're not maximizing them. One of those hotels could have easily ended up into 3 or 4 nights, but they didn't know how to use the points. They just went straight onto the portal and they're saying, oh, well, I have enough points for that. And they use the points for that. So in this presentation, I want to show you guys how to be able to maximize those points and miles based on travel hacking. So let's go into my story. So we did 8 days in Hawaii for $66.80. No, that is not a typo. We just use points and we use them strategically. So breaking down this trip, it was super, super special for me and my wife because this is the trip where we got engaged. I was able to connect with some other real estate investors out there and have dinner with them. And that was something super, super cool to me because we had never been to Hawaii. It was always on my bucket list. And I said, I just want to go there. And after leaving there, I said, I want to live here. So that's what I write down on my vision board. And then me and my wife got engaged out there. But being able to book it on the points, we paid our hotels, flights, and our rental car for $66.80 total. So the breakdown of the total save, we saved a total of $6,165.18. Yes, I went and did the math on that because we said we have to be getting a really good deal on these. So breaking down that, the hotels we saved almost $4,200 because we had a couple free nights and we had the points built up from some transfer partner cards that we're going to be getting into a little bit later today. We booked our rental car because I was going to book it in cash. And I said, I wonder if I can do this on points too. And turns out you are able to. They cost a little bit more points than you would if you were booking a hotel or a flight, but super worth it. So we save $467.18 on those. But the biggest one, or the second biggest one, is the flights, because we're over in Charlotte, North Carolina. So flights aren't cheap, going almost halfway around the world. So we save $1,500 on those flights because we had the points for it. And I know some of you guys are thinking, oh my gosh, that must have cost so much in points. Well, it was only 348,000 because of the benefits we had with opening some of these cards strategically. We had the hotel brands, we had some extra points from flights, but the hotel brands give you a free night when you sign up for a card, or if you're using their card most of the time. So I know a lot of us are real estate investors on here, so we use a lot of these for renovations, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But we have such a high spend that if we just use one card, we're going to get massive rewards and status with these brands. So that's my Hawaii story. Loved it out there. We got it on our vision board up here that we're going to be living out there by the time I'm 30. So I got a little under 4 years to be able to do that, but that is the big goal for us. But we saved a little over $6,000 just by booking on points, for a total of $66.80 to be able to go out there for 8 days. So let's just get this out of the way. So what are the biggest misconceptions of travel hacking? The biggest one is going to be, it hurts my credit. Okay. So it doesn't actually hurt your credit. The only thing that people are really skeptical of is when they get their credit run. So when they get their credit run, yes, it does take a couple points, but if you're going from a 783 credit score down to a 780, it's really not that huge of a hit. And plus, you're going to be getting those points back in more because you're going to be a responsible person paying off your card every single month. So there's no interest, there's no extra dues that are coming up that could impact your credit. So this whole game of points and miles is based off of you being responsible. So if you're not responsible with money, which I think everybody in this group is responsible, but if you're not responsible with money, if it just stresses you out way too much, then this isn't a game for you, because you are opening credit cards. Yes, it does take a couple points, but you're going to be able to get that back and more. And it's actually going to boost your credit because you're showing that you're a responsible user. So why should I pay an annual fee? So later, I broke down, some of the annual fees on these cards are rather high. So for the Amex Platinum Business, it's almost $900, but you get a $3,000 value from it. So one of the smaller cards that I'm going to recommend a little bit later has a $95 annual fee. So for some of us, we could say, well, why do I need to pay for that? It's because you're getting $800 to $900 worth of value. And these points are worth way more than dollars if you're using them correctly, which I'm going to show you how today. So another one is I want write-offs for my taxes. I write off all my travel for my taxes. So most of us are big spenders because we're doing renovations, we're doing things for our properties. Most of us real estate investors are. So when we travel, we're able to write off a couple $100s for taxes, which is awesome, right? However, if you're using the points and miles that you're building up through all these renovations, you're saving, let's just say on my Hawaii trip, I saved $1,500 on flights for me and my wife. And then we would have had to go through figuring out how to write off that trip, doing those things, talking to our accountant or our lawyer, and figuring out how to write off those smaller things on our taxes for $500. So many people are so, stuck in this view of, how, like they're trying to write off their dog on their taxes. It's like there's so many different things that are more beneficial for you to be writing off on your taxes than just travel. So if you truly do just need to write off your taxes on travel and you're using the points for personal vacations, vacations with your family, keep doing your thing, but there's definitely better ways to be able to write off bigger chunks of your taxes than just travel. So why do I need more than one card? Because if you're playing this game for the points and miles, and I'm just showing you how to maximize them. I'm not your CPA. I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm just showing you what I've done to be able to maximize these points and miles and just to be able to spread the word about them. Because if people are, looking to be able to save money, whether that's going to travel to see their family, they're, just traveling to spend a small vacation that they can get for free, that they don't have to spend, thousands of dollars. These points and miles can really add up to where you're getting a lot of this stuff for free. Like I said, $66 to go out to Hawaii. All we're paying for out there is food and, the experiences we pay for. But the biggest chunk is over $6,000 that we save that we can go do something else with. People save so much money to be able to go to Disney, where if they just use these points and miles and use it for their normal spending, they would be able to have those trips for nearly free. So having more than one card is going to be able to give you that opportunity, because the majority of these points come from welcome bonuses. They're not coming from your normal spending. If you're spending 2,000 to 3,000 a month, let's just say it's you're spending 5,000 a month on your personal spending, and you're using this one card that has a 1x multiplier. So you earn 5,000 points that month. Good, right? So you could also open this card and in 3 months, after you spend the same amount that you're already spending, in 1 month, you would be able to get 80,000 points rather than just the 5 you're signing up for. And all of these cards have bonus that you can sign up for, and the welcome bonus is going to give you that chunk of points. So that's where your majority is coming from. So if you're in to play this game, that's why you're needing more than one card. You don't have to use it. You can set it off to the side after you get those points, but having more than one card is going to be allowing you to maximize this and use it to your own strategies. So let's talk about the benefits. So the benefits are major savings on flights and hotels. So I documented that in my strategy, or in my trip to Hawaii, because we saved the majority of our money on the flights and hotels. $1,500 for flights, over $4,000 for hotels, because when you're signing up for these cards and you're using them, they're giving you for some free nights. So the points are normally earned on normal spending. And if you're using the correct card, so let's just say the Amex Gold has a 4x or 5x multiple on your grocery spending. Let's just say you spend $1,000 on groceries or at the grocery store, you're going to be able to multiply those points. And then if you have a business that's, getting a lot of supplies, you're able to multiply that way more with the business gold. And it's just being able to show how, the difference is using one card versus another. You're able to really maximize that spending because you're still spending the same amount, but this card is going to get you 5x points and this one is going to get you 1x. So do you want 5,000 points or do you want 20,000 points in 1 month? It's just something to think about. But these points are earned on the normal spending. So you don't need to go out and do anything crazy because you're already spending this money. And if you're being responsible and paying it off, then there's really not going to be any issue. So one of the better benefits is that it can lead to free nights. So that's how we ended up with a lot of our points saved on our trip, is because we were able to get three or four nights for free on these hotels that are charging a couple $100 to be able to stay there per night. And we were on the ocean. Since we have their card, we were able to say, hey, do you guys have any ocean view rooms available? And what do you know? They had an ocean view room available that we were able to upgrade to for no extra cost, just because we were a member with their card and had a little bit of status. We were able to upgrade for free. And that's something super cool that you can leverage. So if you're a big Hyatt person, if you're a big Marriott person, you're able to leverage that status to where you're like, hey, I just love staying at this hotel in this brand. Then you can do that. These are your points and you're able to spend them how you want. But these different cards are able to give you these free nights. So airport lounge access, I don't know about you guys, but the lounge is super cool. You're not having to spend money on a $15 coffee and a $30 sandwich. You're able to go in here It's based on your normal spending. If you hit this, or even if you open up the one card, you're able to get this airport lounge access for free. And they're super cool in there. Free drinks, free alcohol, free food. They have desserts in there, everything you could need. And it makes you want to get to the airport a little bit earlier. So we're always like, hey, I think 2.5, maybe 3 hours is good to hit the airport before our flight. And my wife's like, yeah, that's fine as long as we go to the lounge. So we love being able to go to the lounge, the Centurion Lounge by Amex. Super cool. We basically abuse it here in Charlotte. So every single time we're there, we're going in there. So, like I was saying, status with hotels and airlines. That's another really big benefit because as you're using these cars, if you find one that you really, really like, you're going to be able to get these upgrades, or you're just going to have a massive amount of points to where you can book up to business class or even first class. And I'm going to show you later how to be able to find those deals on one of the websites, but you're able to find the status with or you're able to gain the status with these hotels and airlines just because you're using their cards. And it's as simple as that. So let's hop into where to start. So for all of these people that are let's just say you're brand new, don't have a card, or let's just say you have a Delta card. And you're like, hey, should I just open up another one? We fly on Delta. We're booking a flight coming up here soon. So before you do that, let's start here. So there's two pretty much beginner cards. If you have normal spending, it's probably about 2-3 grand a month. You're going to be wanting to start with one of these cards, even if you have a business, because you're able to grow into so many different things. And these cards are able to transfer into a lot of these other hotels and airlines. That's if you just get a Delta card, it's going to be stuck there. So if you get Chase or if you get American Express or Capital Ones out there too, you're able to transfer into so many more and really maximize those miles compared to if you just got one name brand card. So the American Express Gold Personal. So it has a $6,000 minimum spend within 6 months. So if you do the math, that's $1,000 per month. Most of us are going to hit that pretty quickly in probably 2 to 3. So once you get those points, then you're able to open up another card. And I'm going to talk about that later on what's the best strategy for opening cards. But for this card specifically, you get a $100,000 or 100,000 point welcome bonus, which is a lot. And that is a $1,300 value. So you're getting so much value for this card that's, I think, right under $200 if you open it. So it's worth it to be able to use that. You're able to get Uber Eats and some other benefits in there, but this is going to be the best one for getting your groceries because it's going to have those multipliers because it's personal. So there's figuring out where you want to start. So this is the card I started with because how somebody got me into it is I was trying to figure out how to be able to renovate my first property and I had no money. And it's not like it was my personal house, so I was able to buy it at a pretty good discount, and I had to put money into it to be able to fix it. So I financed that on the credit cards, refied out, paid off the cards. And that's where I racked up tons of points. But being able to start from here, what they recommended me was start with this card, hit the bonus, and then you're able to move over to the business card, which is going to be able to refer you to more points. And then you start learning about Chase and these other personal cards that you're using, and all of a sudden it just kind of adds up. But if you start here, you're building some reputation and some trust with that credit card brand like American Express or with that bank. So once you're building up that trust, they're going to be able to refer you to more cards, especially if you're paying off your cards every single month. It's never a problem. You're going to be able to build that trust and they're going to want to give you more. They're going to be giving you bigger credit lines. They're going to be referring you cards that you're able to sign up for. So moving over to the Chase, I've heard this talked about sometimes on the podcast as this is the one card you want to start with if you haven't opened one of these yet, because it's harder to open some chase cards if you have some cards already. So if you, let's say I started with the Amex, I had a couple cards in Amex and then moved to Chase. They just didn't send me as much promotion. It was a little bit harder to be able to sign up for the Chase. So some people say start with Chase and then move to Amex. So, and that's going to go along with the 524 rule. But for this card, their welcome bonus is a little bit different, but it is a $5,000 minimum spend within 3 months, and you're going to get 75,000 point welcome bonus. But the thing here is it's not one card versus the other, because all of these points are valued differently. All of these banks, all of these transfer partners value their points differently. So yes, the points may be a little bit different, but it's not saying one card is better than the other or you get more value here or there. You're just building up this massive amount of points because you're going to be able to transfer them out. So that's why these two cards from these two banks are so big, because if you build your points in these two banks, you have the ability to be able to transfer them out to where, let's say you started with Delta. Now all those points are stuck in Delta, and then you're doing what's the travel moms like to say, the slow burn, to where you're just building points on your minimum spends, to where if you're opening these cards, you're able to get those chunk of points, like the 75,000 points. That's huge. And then you bump up, there's another card with 100. So now you have 175 and you refer your spouse. And you see how these points build up super quick. But these two cards are the one to start with. So if I had somebody starting brand new, I would say sign up for the Chase Preferred, hit that bonus, and then 3 months later, then you can go and open a business card with Chase. And then see if you can open another personal, and then you can start going to American Express because they don't have as many limitations. Chase is just a little bit pickier. But something you really need to be aware of is the 524 rule. So I didn't want to have its own slide for this because it's kind of a simple explanation. So you can only open 5 personal cards within 24 months. So that's a Chase rule, but it applies if you're opening an American Express card, if you're opening a Capital One card that's a personal card. It all kind of blends together. So let's say you start opening a bunch of cards, and you can only open 5 personal cards within 24 months. So let's say you open one today, and then 2 years and 1 month, now you're going to be able to go open another personal card. But you don't want to fill up all those personal cards right away, because then you're going to be stuck. So that's why they have business cards, to be able to help kind of limit that. And you're able to get those points along the way, so you're not just stuck after you hit those 5 personal cards spending. And there's a little bit of a strategy in there on, hey, if I open 1 or 2 personal cards, make sure you're opening a business card to be able to, branch that gap, and you're also getting your points. So beware the 524 rule. And there's an app later that I'm going to be talking about that's going to be able to break that down a little bit more and track it for you. So what not to do. So these are 2 big no-nos. So you do not want to cancel your cards right away after you get the points, because those banks can claw back those points, because it shows that you're gaming the system. So you don't want to show them that, because you're not. They're giving you so much value. You're paying them. So do not cancel the cards right away. The best advice is, if you have a couple cards open, and you're like, hey, I just do not use this thing, like I just want to get rid of it. What you can do is, after 1 year, let that annual fee hit, and then you have to call the credit card company. And then you can say, hey, I'm looking to close this card. And normally what they do is they can either say, okay, we can close that for you, or they want you to keep using that card. So they say, well, if you spend $1,000 this month, we can give you 10 or 15,000 points. So that 10 or 15,000 points is definitely worth it. So you can then decide, it's like, okay, do I want to cancel it, or can I get a couple more chunk of points here? And then canceling these cards right away Canceling the cards is what can impact your credit score. So if you're opening them up, if you're closing them, that's going to send up red flags on your credit. So that's what can lower your credit score. So we don't want to do that. If you don't need to close the card, then don't worry about it. But if it's something that's been sitting in your wallet for a year or two and you're like, hey, I don't use this, like I can just put it in a drawer and never see it again, then you can probably close it. But also remember that you can also get another chunk of points by just using it a little bit again. So one more big thing here is do not add anyone as an authorized user because you can refer them for more points. So let's just take the Chase Sapphire preferred example that I talked about on the last slide. You can open up that card, and then for Jeff, he's able to refer his wife Lexi over to that card. So Jeff is going to get the 75,000 points. He's able to refer his wife to the card, so she's able to open one up for herself and getting 75,000, and then Jeff gets another 25,000 after she hits that minimum spend bonus of about, I think it's like 10, 15, 20,000 points. So they just racked up 170 points within this short period of time. So that's how you're really able to maximize them. But if you add somebody as an authorized user, that takes up one of their 524 spots. So that's why you don't want to be putting them as an authorized user, because it limits your ability to build the points. So that's a very, very big one. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you come back to this one and just, take notes of this, because this could be really, really huge for you if you're looking to play the game. So talking about transfer partners. So this is why I said Chase and American Express are the two biggest players in the game, because they're able to transfer to all of these airlines and hotels, versus if you just got a Hilton card, you're stuck with Hilton. You can't transfer that out. If you got a Marriott card, it's stuck there. Hyatt card, it's stuck there. Delta card, it's going to be stuck there. But if you build your points in one of these banks with Chase, American Express, or Capital One, you're able to transfer to all of these different points. So let's just say you open a card, you get 60,000 points with Chase, and then you need 30,000 to be able to book a flight on American Airlines. You can just transfer 30,000 points to American Airlines. You don't have to, and then you're not going to have this, or you'll have 30,000 points left over in Chase that you can maybe book a hotel with. So you're able to do so many different things with these transfer partners. And that's why these Chase, American Express, and Capital One points, that's why they're so valuable, because you can do so much more. Like we just booked a flight down to Texas and we're spending, I think it's like 10,000 points, and all our flight was like a total of like $10. So we're able to do that, but we wouldn't be stacking up our points on a Southwest card because they're going to be stuck there. And it's like, well, now I need to use Southwest, but if I'm going to Hawaii, there's no ability to use Southwest points. So you don't want your points to be stuck in these hotel or airline cards because you're not able to transfer them out. So having the Chase, American Express, and Capital One, that's why they're so important. And that's why we tell you to be able to start there, build your points there, and then you can start to dip off into the airlines and hotels when you're not able to get those Chase and Amex points. So where do you book your points? So a lot of people, they see, oh, well, Chase has the ability to go into this portal and I can book it right there. Amex has the same thing. Capital One has the same thing. But they're going to be charging you more points for that flight. So what I recommend is going to this free website. You set up your free account. They're not going to send you a bunch of crap. It's called pointsya.com. And you're able to put in your flight, put in your hotel, where you're going to be staying, and it's able to research for you based on the points that you have, which you put in the top. So if you don't have Wells Fargo points or active cash, then you can deselect it and get really specific. So if I only have Amex points, I can select it to where I'm only looking at Amex options to be able to stay in a hotel or book a certain flight. So step one is going to be typing in the travel dates for your flights and hotels. Super easy to do. And then you're going to be selecting the options with your points and miles that you have. Also super easy to do. Just, take your time, play around with it. And then you're going to be going to the website of the partner to book. So if you see a flight, you have the points, you can transfer them into these different areas. So um, let's just say Avianca for a random airlines. It's like, well, I don't have Avianca points, but it's going to show you there that if you have Chase, if you have Amex, or if you have Capital One, you're able to transfer into there. So all you would do is you would go to Avianca, you would set up a free account, and then from there you would be able to transfer the Amex points or the Chase points that you need or that you have into Avianca to be able to book that. And some of these transfer partners, they have multipliers as well. So I know Hilton points, let's say if you transfer 1,000 points into Hilton, you actually get 2x. And the value of those points are a little bit different because Hilton, say you need 500,000 points to be able to book this one place you want to go to. Well, it's actually not 500,000 Amex points. You can actually have only like 200 to 250,000 Amex points and be able to book there. So you got to keep track of these multipliers. So if there's a certain brand that you like flying, make sure you have those points and that you can transfer into. But using points, yeah, is going to be able to show you exactly where to be able to transfer those points with the points that you have. So super important there. Go check out that website. Super, super cool to use. So final tips here. So it's best to wait about 3 months in between opening cards because you're not sending red flags up to the banks. It shows that you're not gaming the system. So if you go out tomorrow and try to open 3 cards, that's going to throw up some red flags. That might impact your credit. So the best strategy is that you're opening a card, you're hitting the bonus, and then you're waiting a little bit to be able to open that next card because you're building trust with that bank that you're paying it off. So if you play their game, they're going to be able to reward you, and then they're going to recommend you to more cards to be able to get more points. So waiting 3 months in between opening cards is probably best recommended. Sometimes you can go 30 days if you just haven't, opened anything recently. But if you go around applying for these cards, they do pull credit. So they are going to be going after those. So be safe. Wait just about 3 months to be able to open cards. Make sure you're paying those off every single month. So that's my next tip is do not overspend to get the points because it's not worth going into debt just to be able to have these points. You like Dave Ramsey says, you never want to go into debt. You're stupid. So do not overspend. So if you don't spend over $1,000 a month, it's probably not wise to be able to open the Chase card where you have to spend more to be able to get that. So if you're spending $1,000 a month on these extra things, then don't open a card that's going to make you spend, $1,500 to be able to get there because that's going to be putting you in debt. It's not worth it. So don't do that. So they are your points, so spend them how you want. There's so many ways to be able to do this, whether you like a certain brand of hotel, whether you like a certain flight, or you say, hey, I would rather just use these cards and pay myself back on them. That's not maximizing them, but they're your points. So you can do whatever you want to do to be able to use your points. So that's obviously an option. That's not the option I would go with, but it is one of those options. So make sure you're maximizing the points. Make sure you're using them the way you want to. But for people that are playing the game and they are opening a lot of cards, download the Travel Freely app or go on the website, create a free account. They're not going to send you a bunch of crap. And you're able to track all of your cards on there. You're able to see the bonus points. You're able to see the rewards that you get on there. And they're going to track when you open it. And that's going to be able to help you determine what cards you want to open next. They have it's called Card Genie in there. You're able to see, hey, these are the cards I have open, and it'll give you referrals to what's next for you or what you're looking to do. Are you looking to travel? Are you trying to build credit? It has all of those options in there to be able to do it. And it's just a super simple app that you're able to use. So go check out Travel Freely, play around with it, add your cards in, and that's going to make it so much simpler to be able to track your cards. I have, I believe, 12 or 13, but all of them are in there and I can see when they're open, when the annual fee hits, and what I would have to pay for that annual fee. So super easy to track on there. Go check it out. And then if you guys have any questions, I'm just leaving you off with here's another podcast that I used to be able to learn everything. So Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. I like the first 20 episodes because they go into a real deep dive of how to be able to build those points, how you do it, why you do it, and some of the reasons that they do it. So lately they've been documenting their trips and what they do. But in the beginning, I think they do a really, really, really good job of, killing all those misconceptions, being able to show you how to do it the responsible way. And I think that's what a lot of us need, because that's what I needed. I was coming from Dave Ramsey mindset. Don't open credit cards, never had one in my life. But I was able to listen to these guys and never had a problem with, because it's like, oh, people are doing this. So that's really cool to see. And then over here on the right, you can see the Leadway Wealth Builders podcast. That's my podcast where I'm documenting my journey in real estate and business. And I'm bringing on high-level investors to be able to interview and talk about how they built their businesses and give their stories. So it's super cool on there. You can follow me back from when I quit my job, when I bought my first house, and then bought a lot more, going through the problems that I'm having now, growing a business. And you're able to see the mindset shift. So what I was doing back a year ago is completely different than what I'm doing now, and just the way I think about things, the way I'm doing things. So super cool to be able to listen on there. We have some really cool guests on coming up, so make sure you tune in for those. And if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at chris.reichenbach. That's chris.reichenbach. So thank you guys so much for tuning in here. I appreciate you guys listening and coming on and hanging out with me for 30, 45 minutes. So thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, we'll open the floor. All right, guys. And that was the Leadway Wealth Builders podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have an interview coming up for you next Friday. Have some really cool guests on coming up, so make sure you tune in for those. But as for this episode, thanks so much for tuning in to the travel hacking episode in episode 179. This is Chris Reichenbach saying see you later.